We cannot hear you all very well, so if you could just speak a little bit louder, that would be really great. That was my cue, right? Yes. Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here, both online and in person. My name is Carolina Saborito. I am a third-year law student at the Hague University of Applied Sciences, and I am this year's head of main events in ILSA. ILSA is the International Law Students Association, and we are the Hague chapter. We are currently collaborating with the COREX Foundation on this workshop, which is specifically targeted for the Hague debate tournament, but is open to also other students of the universities that are participating in the tournament. Yeah, I'm here with Vetira and Valeria in person, who are going to do the exercises with you in person, and then online we have Maria and Astrid, who are going to be on the Gather platform, helping out with the exercises there. So thank you again to COREX for giving us the opportunity to collaborating with them, and I hope you all enjoyed today's workshop.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Maria. As Carolina just said, me and Astrid will be here for the online part of the event, and I would like to give you a short rundown of how this event is going to proceed. So after the introductions are done, Mr. Davis, our speaker today, will give a first part of the presentation that everyone will listen to. So either if you, whenever, if you're in person or online. And after that, we will have a short break. And here on WebEx, I will share a link to the Gather platform that will be our online space to conduct the exercises. But what is important is that you keep the WebEx open as well, so you can listen to the explanations that Mr. Davis will give, and then you can come on together and do the exercises that me and Astrid will conduct. And of course, me and Astrid will be there to help you around with Gather, so if you have any questions, you can come to us. And now I'll pass on the floor to Astrid.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Maria. And as she said, I will also be helping to conduct the workshops on Gather. I would like to introduce very briefly the man of the hour, Mr. Cale Davis, who will be explaining to us how to properly debate. Mr. Cale Davis is currently a lecturer in international criminal law at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. He previously taught at Leiden University, Bond University, and Charles Darwin University. He is currently a PhD candidate specializing in empirical research on prosecutorial discretion in international courts and tribunals. He was previously a practicing prosecutor in Australia and worked as a judge's associate in Australia. Thank you very much, and I really hope that you guys enjoy these workshops and can learn something from here. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Give me a few moments. I'm just going to share my screen with you so you can see what is going on. Hopefully that has worked. Can everyone see my screen okay? Give me a thumbs up. Maria, if you can see my screen. Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, welcome. Lovely to see you all. I can see you all in person sitting in the classroom, which is fantastic. As Astrid has said, my name is Cale and I'm a lecturer here at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. And tonight I wanted to give you some useful maybe tips and advice on public speaking for law competitions. I understand that many of you are currently participating in law competitions. They might be debating competitions, they might be arbitration competitions, or they might be mooting competitions. So my advice to you tonight, and the exercises that we're going to do with you tonight, aren't targeted towards any one specific style of competition, but rather they should be able to help you no matter what type of competition that you are participating in. Apart from giving you some tips, we're also going to be doing some exercises. Those of you who are there in person at the Hague University of Applied Sciences will be able to do those in actual physical groups, which is going to be nice. And Carolina and the others who are there with you will organise that. And for those of you who are joining online via Gather, we will be doing those exercises also online, but bear with us because we understand that this is maybe some new technology for everyone and people might need to take a few moments to get used to how it works. But we'll do our best to make sure everything runs smoothly, but we do anticipate that there will, of course, be some technical difficulties that will always be encountered. Right, so let's get down to business. As I understand, as I said, all of you are going to be doing or are doing some form of public speaking competition within your law programs. And whenever you're giving a speech, no matter what forum, it's always important to understand the audience that you're communicating with. In your case, the audience are probably going to be judges. They will be the judges in the debate tournaments, they'll be the arbitrators in the arbitration tournaments, and they'll be the moot court judges in the moot court tournaments. And importantly, we need to understand a bit about these people that we're trying to communicate with in order to understand some of the nuances that we need to bring to our public speaking. So, the first thing that we need to learn about our judges is that they are idiots. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. The fact is, these people don't know anywhere near as much of the topic that you're talking about as you do. You have been working on these problems for a very long time. You've been researching them for months. I know that some competitions go for in excess of 9 months. And let me tell you this, the judges have in no way, shape or form been researching and drafting and preparing as much as you have. So you know the content a lot more than they do, even though they are the ones who are judging you. The other thing that we need to understand about judges is that they are not necessarily experts. In many law competitions, practitioners or academics are asked to come along and judge these competitions, sometimes at the very last minute. They might not be experts in the field. They might never even have researched anything about the field, but nevertheless, they have been asked to come along and judge, maybe because there were no other judges available. And it is a reality that finding judges for mooting competitions can sometimes be, and other competitions, can sometimes be a very, very difficult activity. So you need to understand that when you're presenting, you're not necessarily presenting to people who understand the law in the same way that you do. And for that reason, it's important to structure your speech in a way that anyone can understand. One of the hallmarks of effective legal communication is that you should be able to go out onto the street with your speech or your presentation and talk to anyone that you find on the street. Give it to them. And at the end of your presentation, they should be able to understand the topic to the same level that you do, with all of the complexities and nuances that you understand. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to do. And if I'm completely honest, I doubt that anyone has ever managed to achieve it successfully. But that doesn't mean it's not a goal that we should all be striving for. In the context of these competitions, if you can make your speech so understandable that anyone, regardless of their specialisation in law or their background, can understand it, you're going to go a long way to doing well in these competitions. Because if you come into the competition as an expert in arbitration or an expert in international criminal law, and you present to a bench that's full of trade lawyers or tort lawyers or even contract lawyers, they won't understand everything like you do. And that's why it's important that you target your presentation to a level that anyone, regardless of their specialisation, is going to be able to understand. So there are a couple of things that I think will help you in that regard. The first of all is, of course, signposting. You need to be able to signpost effectively. At the start of your presentation, use words such as first, second, and third in order to clearly spell out the arguments that you're going to be giving. But the second thing, and possibly the most important thing, is to be able to clarify what the law is. Now, you and I both know that the legal topics that you're dealing with in these competitions are often very, very complicated, and they can't often be dumbed down to a level that everyone else can understand. But you need to try. You really need to try. Spell out legal principles clearly. Hold the judge's hands. Walk them through the garden path of your reasoning, so that when you do arrive at your final conclusion, they find that conclusion utterly irresistible because you have explained it to them in a way that is clear, it is concise, it leaves no room for doubt, and you deliver it to them, signed, sealed, and delivered in a package that will make you an effective legal communicator. The other thing that we need to remember about judges is that they are going to be often very, very, very bored. Remember, you're not the only teams that will be competing in these mooting competitions. Teams from all across the world will be competing. In some competitions, we see more than 130 teams competing in these competitions. And these judges might be judging 5, sometimes 10 rounds of these competitions. And so they have heard all of this before. And particularly now with COVID, where many of these competitions are taking place online, they're going to be sitting there for an entire day looking at these little tiny thumbnails of people speaking, just as you're doing right now with me speaking, and they are going to be trying so hard to stay awake. But they are going to find it very, very difficult because everyone looks the same. There is a tiny little thumbnail on the screen. Everyone's wearing the same clothes, everyone is lit by the same lighting, and everyone is not looking at the camera, but looking at the screen in front of them where they see the picture of themselves. So what that means is that when you're presenting, you want to try your best to draw yourself as far away as possible from the rest of the crowd in terms of your visual appearance in order to make it seem like you are something special. What do I mean by that? Well, some of the things that you might want to think about is how you're lit. Do you have good lighting? Are you standing in front of a very bright window and you're silhouetted? Obviously, that isn't necessarily a good thing. What's the sound like? Have you got a good microphone, or is your microphone on the other side of the room? Are you standing a long way from the computer? Can they not hear you? Is your sound blurry? It might be very muffled. And of course, the next important thing is, where are you looking? As you can see, right now, I am looking into the camera. To all of you, it probably looks as though I'm looking at you directly in the face, but I'm not. I have a screen below me with all of your faces on it, but to be entirely honest, I haven't looked at any of you. I don't know how many people I'm speaking to. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you look like, because I am looking only at the camera in front of me. And one of the things that you'll realise when you start taking part in these competitions is that most people don't do that. Most people look at the screen in front of them. Where they're talking, they're often looking at themselves, not anyone else, but they'll be looking at themselves. So when someone comes along and looks into the camera, that appears really interesting, because suddenly the judges feel as though they have a personal connection to this person that is speaking to them. When we're having conversations in life, real life, not COVID digital life, we look at each other in the eyes, we look at each other in the face, but with online presentations, we don't do that anymore. So when someone does come along and actually makes eye contact with the judges by looking at the camera, it strikes the judges as something that's very interesting. Suddenly, you have their attention. You've done something to perk their interest, to engage them. And that will help pull you away from the rest of those tiny little thumbnails that you have seen on the screen all day. But it's quite a hard thing to do. If you haven't practiced looking at the camera while you're speaking, and if you haven't practiced making eye contact with someone, you're going to find it quite difficult when you actually have to do it in a competition. And that's why we're going to do an exercise with you now to train you in eye contact. So, how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to now break out into groups, and you are going to have a conversation in pairs on the topic, do law schools provide students with the skills that they need in practice? You must maintain eye contact with the camera or with your partner if you're there in real life. And I want you to have a conversation. I want you to ask each other questions. If your partner says, no, I don't think that law schools provide students with the skills that they need in practice, ask why. Have a conversation with them. And keep track of how many times your partner breaks eye contact. Now, for those of you who are doing this exercise in the room at the Hague University, I want you to clap every time your partner breaks eye contact. Okay? Clap every time your partner breaks eye contact. And for those of you who are doing it online, I want you to keep track of how many times your partner breaks eye contact, but maybe just marking down a note on a piece of paper or in Word or a text editor, just so at the end of it, we can count how many times your partner broke eye contact. Now, this exercise is going to go, we're going to go for 10 minutes. And for those of you who are participating in real life at the Hague University, I expect that at the start of those 10 minutes, the room is going to be filled with people clapping because everyone is going to be breaking eye contact all the time. And for those of you who are participating online, it's going to be more difficult to hear that clapping. But at the end of the 10 minutes, I'm going to ask your project instructor, who will be online with you, to go around the room and ask everyone how many times the partner broke eye contact. And then we'll find out who did the best job.
I have
so
a
the
question.
person with the lowest score wins. Yes, there's a question. Go for it.
Yes. So if we are online and we look at the camera, how are we supposed to know that the other breaks eye contact? Because we are not supposed to look at the screen.
Ah, that's a very good point. Well, while they're talking to you, they'll be looking at the camera, but while you're talking to them, they can look at the video. Okay, I'm now going to ask you to go off into your groups, and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
Of course, and here I would like to briefly take over. I am just now sharing a link to the Gather platform. So for everyone who's joining us only online, please follow the link, open it in a separate tab so you also have access still to WebEx. And once you enter Gather and you set up your avatar and you type in your name, you will enter into a welcome lobby. Follow the arrows in the lobby. That will also give you a brief introduction into how to move around the platform. And me and Astrid are already inside, and we will start welcoming you once you enter the area. And if you have any questions, of course, type them either on Gather or here. We'll be doing our best to answer them and guide you through it. close to. So that's something to keep in mind if you're just like walking around and interacting with people. Now, for the exercises, we will be utilizing all the tables and chairs around us. For this one especially, I would like people to, per app, go to a private area and do the exercise with the icon.
Okay, let's begin to wrap it up and come back to the main session. Now, this is a good exercise that I encourage you to do with your teammates. I understand that sometimes, or here, you might not have all of your teammates present, but next time you do have all of your teammates in a room together, I encourage you to try this exercise. It's quite difficult, but the skill in maintaining eye contact is still very, very important. Often, as judges, when we see people in mooting competitions or debating competitions or negotiation competitions or whatever type of competition, whenever we see them get asked a question that they don't know the answer to, their eyes always go up to the ceiling, almost as if the answer is written up there. But of course, it's not. The answer is always inside their heads. So it's sometimes very, very difficult to maintain eye contact in those circumstances where you're not too sure about the correct answer, but it is something that can be trained and it is something that you can learn. So keep practicing this skill, give it a go, and you will definitely make progress. Now, the next thing that I want to tell you about is being prepared for the unexpected. In all competitions, there is the risk that something happens that you're not prepared for. You might get asked a question that you don't know the answer to. You might find that the lights go out. You might find that there's a technical difficulty. I remember one situation when I was coaching a moot court team several years ago, that during the middle of the moot, a photographer walked into the room, stood directly in front of the students, and started taking pictures of them while they were presenting their oral arguments. They had received no warning about this. The photographer did not even knock on the door. The photographer said nothing, did not introduce themselves, but nevertheless decided to come in and start taking pictures. And it was such a shock to all of the teams because everyone thought, what in the world is going on here? Is this normal? Is this allowed? What's happening? But thankfully, because our team had prepared for the unexpected, it didn't rattle them and they were able to continue presenting. So it's important to be able to deal with surprises. And part of the ability of dealing with surprises is being able to think flexibly. You need to be able to understand your argument in such a way that you're not tied to a script and you can move around fluidly within it, regardless of the questions that you get asked or the disruptions that you come across. And the next exercise that we are going to do is going to help you train that skill. So, what is the next exercise? The next exercise is called Think Fast. This is an exercise that we are not going to do in pairs, but we're going to do in groups. And you are going to have 1 minute to speak about the topic, my experience moving from school to university. How this is going to work is that you are going to be shown images on the screen. The images are completely random. There might be an image of a donkey, there might be an image of a Ferris wheel, there might be an image of a cloud, there might be an image of a bicycle. They're completely random images. And you need to integrate a reference to that image in your presentation. Now that's quite difficult because you don't know what images are coming up. The instructor will move to the next slide when they hear you make a good reference to the image. Now, I don't want you to simply say what is on the slide. That's not the point. I want you to integrate a reference to it that might be a bit creative or might be a bit clever, but it has to be one that the instructor can understand. So when the instructor hears a good reference, they're going to move on to the next slide. And it's going to be a competition. The person who gets through the most images in the 1 minute that they have been allocated is going to win this round. So, for example, you might be talking about this topic, my experience moving from school to university, and the first image that comes up on your slide might be a pineapple. And you might think to yourself, oh my goodness, what can I say about a pineapple? Well, you can't simply say, my experience from moving from school to university was like a pineapple. Then you're just saying what's on the screen. There's no creativity in that. But if you said that it was quite a prickly experience, aha, that works. And then the instructor will advance to the next slide, which is, in this case, oh, Two people giving each other a high five? Ah, you might think. It was a prickly experience, but I was keen to succeed. Do you see what's going on here? Okay. We're going to have 20 minutes for this exercise because I want everyone to be able to have a go. I'm going to send you back out into your groups again now, and I look forward to seeing you back here in the main session at 5 minutes to 7. So I will see you all back there then. Good luck.
Hi, Mr. Davis. I'm not sure if they have already come back from ILSA, but we were just in the online session, and we're around 5, 6 pictures per
About 5
person.
or
So pretty good.
6. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. Are you there, Maria? I think people are still beginning to come
Yes,
back.
I'm here. I'm
Maria,
here.
what were your scores like?
I was mostly outside managing the platform, so I can only say that most people managed to get there. This is what the achievement I can share.
That in itself is an achievement. Wonderful. And are you there, Carolina?
Yes. So in person, we had a couple of 8s, 1 10, and the winner with 12.
Oh my goodness me, 12. 12? Who got 12?
I don't know. I was in the other group.
Oh, well, look, I think everyone 12 deserves a round of applause because that is an excellent achievement. Well done to whoever got 12. That's really remarkable. Good job. So this is an exercise that you can also do within your teams. You can easily make your own slate of pictures. They're not too hard to find on the internet. Just try and find pictures that are generic, that can be open to multiple meanings. Pop them all to a slideshow, and you can make this about anything that you want. And it's a good way to train you to not only deal with surprises, but also start thinking flexibly about the argument or your speech that you are giving. Okay. I should also say that I had the unpleasant experience of doing that exercise myself once, many years ago when I was an undergraduate student. On a university open day, I was asked if I would like to come along and do an exercise with all of these new prospective students and their parents, wondering if they were going to pay for their children to go to university. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I found out right at the very last moment that I would be doing this exercise that you've just done in front of a crowd of prospective students and their parents. It was an experience I would not recommend to anyone. Right, let's go on to the final point that I wanted to tell you about this evening. And the final point is this: law is more than knowledge. At law school, you are taught a lot about rules, you're taught about cases, you're taught about statutes, you're taught about treaties, and you're taught about how to apply them. But it isn't always true that the person who knows the law the best is the best advocate, because law is more than knowledge. And my personal belief is that we don't spend enough time at law school teaching other aspects of law that equally contribute towards persuasive legal argument. You might, in your studies, have come across this triangle before, the modes of persuasion from Aristotle, with logos, the ethos, and the pathos. These 3 elements, logos, ethos, and pathos, are the 3 different ways that people can persuade other people that they are correct. The logos is the one that I suspect you're almost familiar with. It's the appeal to logic, and in law, us lawyers have a particular way of arguing that sounds logical. We know that if you apply this case to this set of facts, you're going to get this outcome if that case has a similar set of facts to the case at hand. So we're quite good at that, and most of legal studies focuses on the training of legal logic. The other one that you've probably come across a fair bit is the ethos. The ethos is the appeal to authority, and we saw that, we often see that when you're going along to speeches. This evening I was introduced as a speaker in a way that gave me a particular authority to speak about a particular topic and make me persuasive. If I was introduced as some guy that Carolina found outside the McDonald's on the turf market, I probably wouldn't have the same persuasive authority as if I was introduced in the very nice way that I was. But the final one that is often ignored by lawyers is the pathos. The pathos is the appeal to emotion. Often in law, we try to separate law and the emotions. We try and make legal argument separate from emotional influence. The whole idea of a legal argument being influenced by emotions is somewhat offensive to us. But it still matters. All law is connected to the emotions. Many legal disputes arise out of very emotive circumstances. The people who are going to be judging are humans, and humans are emotional beings. And if we're trying to persuade the judges that our argument is correct, we are entitled to use all of the tools in our toolbox of persuasion in order to win the argument that we are making. And in the next exercise, I would like to get you to practice deploying pathos in your public speaking. So we're going to do one final exercise with you tonight, and the exercise is about rhetoric. So you're all going to have 2 minutes to prepare, just 2 minutes, to prepare a short, passionate speech, and make it a passionate speech. Make it exciting, make it tug at the heartstrings on the topic, the most important thing at university is. And your speech must begin with the phrase that you are going to see on the slide. And at the end of the 2 minutes of preparation time, everyone is going to present their short 1 minute speech, and we're going to just see as a group who does the best job at persuading us of their position. So, for example, you might come across a slide that says, the most important thing at university is justice. Oh, justice? What? Well, you've got 2 minutes to prepare an argument as to why. And as I say, make it emotive, make it passionate. Now, you won't have the word justice on your slides. You've got some other words. Have a go. And after everyone in the group has presented their short, passionate speech, your instructors will advance to the next slide and you'll get to do the exercise again, but from a very different perspective. And I will see you all back here at 7:30. So good luck, and I'll see you then for the conclusion. mooting competitions, for instance, you might like to do one exercise, very similar to this, where you begin a 1-minute introduction opening statement with the phrase, "This is a case about love or hate or justice or fear or hope," and see how you can understand the one case from different emotional perspectives. Right. Well, that's all I wanted to speak with you about tonight. I hope that you found these exercises useful. I'll now give the floor back to the representatives of the Corax Foundation and ILSA for their final closing remarks. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. All right. I think that says it. I think everybody had a lot of fun in person. I hope it was the same for everybody online. I think we all learned a lot. I'd like to thank, well, Bettina, Valeria, Astrid, and Maria from ILSA who helped organize this, and of course, Mr. Davis who did all of this himself. It's always great to do these exercises, and we are looking forward to having you in person next time with maybe a larger audience if COVID allows. And of course, thank you to the Corax Foundation that collaborated with us on this. But yeah, that's all. Stay tuned for more ILSA and more debate tournament events coming up. Thank you.